to ask. At this time, I'd like to recognize the distinguished vice chair of this subcommittee, Mr. Cloud from Texas, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I come from the district that's home to Corpus Christi, the #1 energy export port. So we were very thankful to see your removing of the LNG export ban. I had just some months ago, was at an energy summit, and there were 14 other countries there. Had the opportunity to speak to them, and the first question they had from other countries was, how soon will you be able to send LNG to us? And that was their biggest concern because of all the wonderful benefits of it. And certainly us producing energy is a lot better than them going to other countries who don't do it nearly as well as we do. So thank you for that. This conversation is really so important. I appreciate what you've done and what you bring to this office in the sense because you have always made the connection between energy production and human flourishing and uplift and understanding that our policies are actually directly connected to humans advancing and being able to heat our homes and travel and all those different kind of things. So I've appreciated the heart you brought to it. And just, about a year and a half ago, as I talked to different energy producers, the conversation was kind of like everybody was trying to get their piece of the pie. And as you mentioned, with the advancement of data, AI, everything that we're looking at the future and expecting exponential energy growth, it's more like how much pie can we make than it is everybody having to kind of fight for their piece of the pie. Having said that, I also appreciate your understanding how it's so important that we prioritize consistent, affordable, baseload energy. We've had a lot of investment in intermittent energy sources that isn't returning a good necessary ROI to the American taxpayer or to the industry, for that matter. And some of our investments have had the effect of distorting the economy in a way that's not very helpful or natural. As we're competing with China, one of the biggest concerns that I have is just the speed it takes to get things done in our country. And I'm wondering if you could speak to that, what you could do in your agency to help with permitting processes and those kind of things, what you need help from us in Congress, any advice you would have on what we need to do to work with the NRC or other regulatory agencies to speed up the permitting process. We used to be known in America as people who can get things done and do it pretty effectively, quickly, and now that seems to not be the case. We need to return that. So how do we go about that?
Boy, that's the big question. It is a very big question. It's certainly one of the reasons I'm here. I just came from abroad. I was in Central Europe last week, and I traveled in the Middle East a week or two before that. And everyone wants to invest in America, right? Because you got rule of law and you can do business in America. And there is a growing concern that we can't get permits. We're ready to bring a lot of money, and obviously everybody wants us to build a data center or a power plant or whatever it is their investment's going to, but it's taken us forever to get a permit. This is making our society more stagnant. It's pushing manufacturing and things overseas. It's chilling investment in our country, which means less jobs are created in our country, less pressure to push wages up that we all want to see. So it is absolutely critical. I can tell you a few things we did at the Department of Energy. For example, in the national labs, think of OSHA, right? We have a very robust, maybe overly robust, health regulatory agency that all businesses comply with, including my former businesses when I was in a different life. At the Department of Energy, you have to comply with all that, and then another layer. Another layer that's mostly duplicative and slightly different in some areas. You can't even get most of the people to bid on building something because they're not going to go through that extra hoop. It cost the Department of Energy to build like a laboratory building where scientists are working on computers 60% more than it would cost a business across the street to build the same thing. So the government, of course, is just, and so I convened all the national lab directors within 2 weeks of my arrival in the doors to tell us, how can I help you? How can we make things more efficiently? Now, that's just in the labs. But they gave me a bunch of lists, and we are rapidly implementing them so we can build stuff quicker and faster and remove some of this red tape. But for commercial businesses, they have a ton as well. The National Energy Dominance Council was really created to get all of the agencies, EPA, Interior, Energy, Commerce, Treasury, together of what we basically do is we listen to businesses everywhere. Why can't you invest in that, or what's slowing you down? And we are trying to knock things over that we can that are regulatory. But I think some kind of congressional permitting reform is necessary as well. Part of our team is working with people in Congress. What's the bipartisan way to get bills that just put timelines on certain things? You know, NEPA's to protect our environment. Everybody wants clean air and clean water, but if a NEPA thing makes something last 6 or 7 years to get approved, most things just simply won't get built. It just means nothing happens.
Yeah.
So thank you for expressing that sentiment. I think it's a huge problem in our country. How can we advance if we can't build anything?
Yeah, thank you for that. One thing I did want to, because this seemed like a headline to me, and we kind of skated through it, but the Biden administration in their last few days in office sent out $100 billion as opposed to 40. Could you speak to that? I mean, that seems almost criminal. Are those employees still employed with the DOE? I mean, you know, anyway, that just seems work. I'm also on the Oversight Committee, so I'm, you know, have a natural penchant for looking into stuff like this. But could you speak to what really happened there?
It's extremely concerning. And so to balance the moving things forward, projects forward, but to understand how did this happen? What was in it? I could go on. There are clauses in loan agreements that are in all previous loan agreements that somehow weren't in the loan agreements, rushed out at the end. So this is a longer topic, but extremely concerning. A little over $40 billion of commitments and loans out of the loan program office in 15 years, and then nearly $100 billion in 76 days. I think we should all be concerned about that. And that's one of the reasons I'm trying to assemble a
doesn't
top-notch
pass
team and be very careful that we do things in a responsible way.
Thank you.